Hello to you all, great people. Thank you for signing in, logging in, and I look forward to these few minutes we will have together. Okay, so as I'm settling in, because it took me a little longer than expected to get everything together, I wanted to share with you some emotional empowerment for Friday. Okay, so emotional empowerment. Um, it still looks like there's a little trouble in the camp. I'm just going to carry on. So hopefully you can see and hear. If not, you can put a message in the chat and I'll do what I can. Okay, I'll do what I can. I want to share with you how, not if, maybe when. Okay, I'm going to make it all make sense in just a minute. Um, but in the meantime, I'm gonna have to carry on. I will carry on. So for those who are able to benefit, welcome and thank you for your time. So it's not if, but how. How you will handle, manage, and endure during challenges. So life happens, and it happens to us all. And just like the seasons that happen, winter, spring, summer, fall, we don't get to choose them, nor do we get to choose how long they last, when they come and go. But if we're fortunate enough to be here, we get to experience them. Our emotions are like those seasons. They revolve, and we get to experience more than just our favorite ones. So your favorite season could be summer, could be fall, but as you live through the year, you get to experience the winter as well as spring. You may flare up allergies, you may have reasons for not liking certain seasons, but you're not able to avoid them. Some people go the extra step of moving to another location when the season changes. That's different. But all in all, we have to experience them all as we live through them all. Similarly, we have emotions that some of our favorite, some we enjoy experiencing, others are take a toll and attacks on us. But like seasons, we don't get to control whether they come our way. Okay, we get to do something about them when we know how and are equipped. But the fact that we get to experience them, that's part of the human experience, the human condition that we all are a part of. So my question is, I'm gonna give fact first. Life happens, okay, and some things are beyond our control. Fact, okay, it is. So it's not a matter of if you will go through hard times, but how you will go through them. Another fact. That's it. It's how, not if, because tough times come our way. Some of them you may have experienced already. Some may be experiencing some now. I'll say that, okay? But you are familiar. If you've lived any length of time, chances are what I'm saying to you is not foreign at all. What now then? So we know life happens. We're here for it. We're a part of life. What do we do? And the question is, what toll will that circumstance take on you? Okay? Because the things that we face, they can have an impact. What toll will it take on you? Will it snuff out everything you have? Will it help you to dig deeper to the source, your strength? What toll will it take? And how will it change you? When we go through things, we change when it's the right thing. When I say right, I don't mean that it's good, but it's the right combination of stuff that impacts us to a degree that we cannot brush it off or pretend that didn't hurt, that didn't impact us. So it's a matter of how will it change you? Will it change you for the better or the worse? And some examples may be you have relationship status changes. Sometimes people divorce, sometimes separate. Maybe you didn't see that coming, but here it is. Maybe you are or have experienced a profound loss. And it could come through grief, in the sense that you could have lost someone. Someone's life could have been, it could be no more in the form that you're used to experiencing that person. Or sometimes it's just a matter of you lose a person or a relationship or some experience or some feeling of trust that you had. So it's not a person, but it's an experience. And it could be something that you have lost and it has profoundly impacted you. So that's a loss. But it can also be a grief, um, from a personal loss, a loss of a person. Sometimes our career status is impacting us in such a severe way. Now we work, we need to make money, we need to have something productive to do with our time and our energy and our talents. And yet some jobs, some roles take such a toll. And I just want to ask for a moment, are you paying a tax for that job that you have? There are going to be some ups and downs, some challenges. That's understandable. But some of them take such an emotional toll on us that we question whether sometimes it's doing more harm than good. And somebody told me, all money is not good money. You get to determine that for yourself. But that's another example of something that can take a toll on you over time, if not immediately. Some things hit us right away, others, they take time. Also, what about your beliefs? Now, how did you get there? Whatever you believe, did you acquire that belief or was that imposed on you? Was that given to you? Have you been conditioned to think a certain way and at some point life has come at you in a way where you get to challenge those beliefs? You get to challenge and say, I don't know about this anymore. Let me weigh it. Let me see if it actually does make sense and it's something that I can choose for myself. You may also decide if it's serving you. Some beliefs that have been imposed on us have just been that. They've been imposed. And when we think about things for ourselves, we wouldn't make the same choices. So when we have time to think about that and process that, it can cause some stress and strain, because it's a break from the norm. It's a break from the status quo. Sometimes it's a break from those that we hold close and dear because we are now thinking for ourselves in a different way that serves us because we've got to explore, but it may not serve the people around us. They may want us to stay a certain way because it helps them to feel better. So that's something that can be a challenge that you may have to navigate and can take a toll on you. And the last one that I'll just share today, there could be more, is being a caregiver. And being a caregiver, you may say, I didn't know it would be like this. I didn't know it would take this much from me. I don't know if I'm equipped. I don't feel like I have all the tools I need. Ah, I don't know. And sometimes you can even feel guilty, maybe over the feelings that you actually have. One of the things I want to be a running theme anytime I share anything is that you are not guilty or wrong for how you feel. You are responsible for what you do with your feelings. So let's take out the word feel and use emotion or emotions. You are not guilty for the emotions that you experience. There's a reason for them. It's serving you in some way to inform you of something that's going on with you, what your body really thinks, feels, and believes, and experiences, other people, the past, the present. We have a reason for how we feel the way we feel. We are responsible for what we do with our emotions. Okay, because if we don't manage them, who's supposed to? It's okay to be angry, but do you go out there and just knock over signs? And I won't even go into it. Whatever the feeling is, what you do with it, you are responsible. And there's an easier way to manage them by first being willing and able to acknowledge them and not punishing ourselves for the truth of how we really feel. Because when we think about it, acknowledge it, then we can choose what we may want to do with it. Okay? I did a post recently that you can't change what you don't acknowledge. It's true. So we get to acknowledge it and then we have some choice. as far as what we'll do and which direction we'll go. My emphasis is not on the things that you can experience: relationship change, grief, job loss or change, moving to another environment, um, beliefs, having internal dialogue that can be troubling. My emphasis is not on those individual things. My emphasis is on you, how you manage, how you go through those experiences, and if you have what you need to go through. Because remember, it's not a matter of if, more like when, but it's also a matter of how you will go through these experiences. Because it doesn't have to be these specific ones, but you will have experiences that you have to encounter that if it were up to you, you might say, I don't want that one. Or I'm ready for this one to change. I don't need to keep going through this long. But we don't get to always do that. So since we don't, and there will be things that we have to face that we didn't ask for, may not want, it's a matter of how we will handle that period, that time period, how we'll do it. And so my emphasis is not on those specific things. My emphasis is on you and your emotional state during this time and your needs. Can you recognize those? What are you feeling as you go through? Be honest with yourself. You don't have to tell it to anyone else, or not right away. What works for you at the time. But be able to be honest, because your body already knows. It already knows. I got you. So somebody is, I appreciate your comment. I see you there. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and how we will go through these times. And I'd like to encourage and support and equip you in any way I can so that we can go through them well, get our lessons, get our experiences, elevate, and move on. Because things that we don't manage and address, we end up having to keep dealing with in another shape or form. Or it's stored in our body, which we're still dealing with because it's impacting us now in other ways, mentally, physically. All it takes is if you go to the doctor and you have some stress right before going there, it's going to show up in that blood pressure reading. It's going to show up. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to tell the clinician, your doctor, the assistant, the medical assistant, whoever you're dealing with. You don't have to mention the nurse, but it's going to show up. So stuffing stuff down, it doesn't really work. It doesn't work. And there are many people who can tell you that, and then there are some who are not here anymore. If they could tell you, they would. It doesn't work. It's not worth it. So it's a matter of how you will go through and recognizing what your needs may be. There are times that we need something beyond ourselves. We may need someone beyond ourselves. Again, when we acknowledge our feelings and we spend time there in a safe way, we can get the information we need for next steps. When we don't do that, we live out our experiences in harmful ways towards us, to ourselves, toward others, and in our physical bodies. It's not a win. You don't get away from doing the right thing when it comes to your emotional health and resilience. You win, if you want to call it that, when you do the work of spending time, acknowledging, and then doing what's necessary, that's next. And sometimes that could be reaching out. Sometimes it may not, but you don't know until you spend the right time. I want to just also point out that when we don't listen to our bodies, there are some experiences we'll have. So if you know of any, you can put them in the chat. I'm going to start mentioning some that I know right off the top, but there are more. One is there's tension in your body. I don't know if you feel it in your chest, start sweating, whatever it is. There's something that you have that your body signals to you when it's in distress, when things are not okay. So we feel it in our bodies. And I already mentioned that blood pressure. That's going to tell on us too. Sometimes we're just confused when we're going through things, and if we don't have the resources we need, the support we need, and even sometimes when we do, we're still confused as to what to do and how. It's a lot to process. If it's the right situation that has hit you the right way, it's more at times than you can handle and process easily on your own. And sometimes not at all on your own. You'll need support. Other times, there's a fear of carrying out the change. So it's kind of like, I don't want to know more. I don't want to maybe even know certain options because I just want to stay in the position I'm in. I don't want to have to make a decision. I don't want to have to do anything. But that's not the best way because putting our heads in the sand does not make the situation go away. When we come out of that sand, it's still going to be there. So sometimes there is a fear, and we might need support around managing that. Because again, well, I'll say, we are not wrong for how we feel. There's a reason for it. We're just responsible for what we do with our feelings. And when we're the adult in the equation, we get to make the decisions. No longer are we children and other people make it for us. We have to make it. And sometimes we may decide, I'm just not going to do anything. So that's still kind of making a decision by default because you know the results. You know that something will result from your indecision. It's not going to stop the earth from rotating. So whatever's in motion, you know it's still going to happen unless you make some intentional adjustments. It's going to happen anyway. You just got there without having to choose. Sometimes there's the pain and the fear, we can say too, of embarrassment. Maybe you feel like I shouldn't be experiencing this or at this time in my life or in this way. Those shoulds can get you every time because shoulds don't exist except for in our minds. Okay? What is what you're facing. Is what's really here. Should is what I think. And let's just say you're right. Maybe something shouldn't be, just for the sake of argument. But it is. So what you gonna do about it? It's staring you in the face. So you can stay stuck on the shoulds. This shouldn't be, that shouldn't be, he shouldn't, she shouldn't. Okay. But it doesn't change it. So again, the responsibility is on what you do with your feelings, your emotions, what you are responsible to do with them. Because shoulds can keep you stuck. But there are times that there is embarrassment. That's an emotion. And just like the seasons, we get to experience a range of the emotions. We don't just get to pick and choose the good ones, whatever we may call, those that make us feel good. It's a season thing. It's going to change, but that's the good news too. If we face it, if we deal with it, if we deal in that season, it won't last forever. It's not meant to. It's just not meant to. That's the good news. You know, sometimes, especially if they're challenging times and we just cannot see our way out of, things just don't last forever. I don't know who said the quote, who it's attributed to, but change is the only constant. And change is going to happen. And no one is big enough to stop it. In the sense that who can stop the seasons? Who can stop it whether you like it or love it? It's just a natural process. And similarly, some of the experiences I'll share in that same vein. They will change at some point. Something has to change. Also, even if that changes us, now sometimes things outside of us may not change, you know, in a certain way, in the way we're looking for. I'm speaking in general terms, but so you may be applying it to your own situation. So I just want to put that out there. Sometimes the change happens with us. Okay? Then also we can have conflicting beliefs and emotions. So sometimes the things that we've been taught that have been pushed on us, to maybe even in a so-called nice way, if we didn't choose these things for ourselves, at some point they will revisit us and we have to decide, is this belief serving me? Do I still believe this? Or is this just something that my family, my community, my environment has just by default taught me, or maybe intentionally taught me, but I may or may not agree with that. That can cause some pain too when it's not serving you when you're dealing with a specific situation. And if the beliefs were true, then I wouldn't be dealing with the situation. Or it would change at this point in time. But it's not. So it makes you question, oh, wait a minute, is this belief true? And just because something is difficult doesn't mean it's not true. But you get to come to that for yourself. You get to weigh it. Sometimes some of the other pain points can be guilt over feelings. Let me see, but let me check this comment. I like that. Okay, I see here, the key is you're going through. The storm doesn't come to stay. It comes to pass. And that's the good news. Thank you for sharing that too. When it comes to going through something, The good news is you are going through something. If you stop and set up camp, that's a problem, okay? But going through something, no matter how difficult it may be encouraged that you're going through it to get to another side. And the only way to get to the other side is to go through. Not all news is good news, but it's the truth anyhow. It's not fun news, let's say that, because there are things that we don't enjoy, but that are part of our experience that we have to do. It's part of this human experience that we have. And it has the ability to build us also. We'll get to that. So if you think of any other pain points when you're going through, put it in here. So sometimes you're dealing with guilt over how you feel because we've been taught, don't feel that way. That's wrong. Again, how are you going to judge my feelings? Because they're not judgeable. And then how can I judge yours? Whether we've done this in the past or it's been done to us, it's a new day every day. We don't have to continue that. People are able to have the feelings they have, and they can deal with them and decide what to do with them. But if I'm punished already before I get to the acknowledgement stage, how do I ever change it? I just end up maybe having to suppress it, numb it out, do other destructive behaviors because I don't really know what to do with this emotion. For whatever reason, no matter how big, burly, strong we're supposed to be, people can be afraid of emotions. It's an area that we're not comfortable with, and unfortunately, maybe there's not enough education around it. And then sometimes I think the education we have gotten, be it spoken or non, has been harmful when we've been told not to feel this way. This is not how you are to feel. All other kinds of language that has been maybe imposed upon us by default or directly, it's been harmful because we're not guilty or wrong for how we feel. It's informing us of something, and then we get to choose what to do with it. Sometimes another pain is isolation because, again, let's say it's even related to guilt. If you feel that you are wrong for something, you don't want to share it. It's like, oh no, I'm gonna keep this one. But you suffer, and you suffer in silence. You suffer alone. Suffering is enough on its own. It's intense, and sometimes that's calling it easy, but it's intense. But to do it alone and still be okay, I'm gonna say it's impossible. It's impossible. Some things we just were not meant to go alone. There are times we need to be alone. But we were born in community. We didn't get here by ourselves. And there are times we cannot get through by ourselves. Even if a person is not doing anything directly that is changing your situation because he or she doesn't have that kind of power and not over your life, just the ability to have someone, to have healthy social supports makes so much difference. And you look back and you feel better. Have you ever experienced this? And here's another point. We aren't taught to deal with our emotions. We're taught to press it down and keep things moving. You're right. You are right. No wonder something, let me put this in a nice way. I gotta be careful. No wonder we have so many issues. We've not been taught how to handle them and deal with them. So since we cannot stop them from happening, and unfortunately, at times now we don't have the tools to handle them, we're just a mess. We're a mess. We're on an emotional roller coaster. We don't know how to get off, and it's a lot. And sometimes it's just too much. It's too much for healthy living. We got to make some changes because who wants to just live that way and then die? No, and we do have a choice. There's a choice. So when we feel alone, sometimes it's because we've been afraid to reach out. Maybe we don't have a good barometer, if you want to say, of an ability to discern who's healthy. Because I'll say this too, when we're in our tough times, we get sometimes two types of influences that can come to us. Some that are destructive and others that are healthy. And depending on which one gets to you first and what stage you're in, sometimes we don't always choose well. When we're in a vulnerable position, it's not easy to make a hugely impactful decision. So we can give ourselves grace, but recognizing that feeling of isolation can make it worse. And there's really nothing new under the sun. Sometimes I have to let that sink in. Whatever we're experiencing, it's not new, and it's not the last time that someone will deal with this, but it's also not new. But when we're going through our own circumstances, we easily can feel like me, myself, and I, and it makes it tougher. Almost to the end of my list, you might have something else. Not knowing where to turn. Sometimes when things come down and impact us, we just don't know. I don't know what to do with this. I didn't see this one coming. I didn't expect it. I don't feel equipped. I didn't ask for it, but you don't have to for things to happen. And you just don't know where to turn. Again, that takes some time, some reflection to acknowledge how I feel, what to do with it, what my options are, how to explore those options. It takes some time, but these are just some of the experiences that we and emotions that we can feel. Um, and then the fear of our business getting out. That can cripple some people because it's like, no, I wasn't raised that way. I'm not telling my business, and I'm certainly not telling it to you because I know you're gonna take it. You're now in a position that you have to be so cautious to hold so much back. Sometimes there's reason for that. Now, I'm not saying that you just to be free and just put everything out there. But I'm just saying these are some of the fears. And then the last one I'll touch on that's really related to that. Sometimes we don't want to expose people who happen to be a part of our story. So this is my story. I can acknowledge how it impacts me, decide what I want to do with it. But if I tell it, I'm going to expose others. Okay, because I'm not in the situation only because of me. Maybe this situation has happened because of pieces others have played. And sometimes we're not comfortable with that. So it's like we're stuck a little longer figuring out who we're going to protect, ourselves or the other people, and how that looks. Because sometimes we can't do both. If I honor myself and my story and my experience, there are parts of it that are going to be shared. Now, ideally, I will share them in safe ways and places where people or someone, even if it's who won't take advantage of that information. But if I just protect you, then I'll keep it. And that harm is now done to me while you go on and live your life. So I'm not just going to leave you with this. That's not enough to acknowledge the pain, to recognize that life happens just like seasons and there's nothing we can do about it. Because if we live during the year, we're going to get to experience what the year brings in terms of winter, spring, summer, fall. And if you're able to hear my voice, we're part of the human experience. Again, we will have experiences that will be a part of things that we enjoy and then things we very strongly dislike and that have taken such a toll and have caused changes in us. But for those changes to ultimately not be harmful, but to maybe give us a strength, to help us to elevate to a new level, help us to be able to connect and relate and understand others more, because now we have some information that we didn't have before. We're not left the same, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. And here's some of the ways that we can manage. I'm just going to leave you with 4. One is, do you have a safe word or phrase? Not a phrase. Now, I know I do. There are times when things get intense for me, whatever I'm doing and things hit me, I have a word I use. Sometimes I kind of hold my heart. And do you have something that you can do that can give you immediate ability to manage the moment? Okay, because we don't have next week, next year. We don't even have tomorrow that we can manage right in the moment. We need some tools that will help us in the moment. Do you have a word? What can you say? What phrase that will give you some immediate peace, comfort, acknowledgement that you're acknowledging that you're real and this is really affecting you, and you just need something to help you get through the moment? That's a power pack of something positive. Do you have something? Do you have a phrase? If not, think about it. I mentioned about holding my heart. Okay, so that's a physical thing. But also sometimes movement is good. Sometimes people may rock. Now, you may not always want to do that on camera. You may not want to do that in a crowd. This depends. But sometimes the movement, you're moving energy. You're recognizing you're still alive. Whatever it does, sometimes it's soothing to do that. And I don't know, maybe it has something to do with when we have babies. You know, even for little children, if you do this, I think it's a universal language. People know it's rocking a baby. Why not just hold the baby? There's something about rocking, maybe that's soothing, and that's soothing to us too. So there are times we need to move in safe, steady movements that will also bring us comfort as well. So maybe rock, some people hum, and they sing, and sometimes it's just hum. It's a way of transcending that moment in that situation. It just helps us to kind of go outside of it for just the moment, to be able to manage the moment. And sometimes exercise, movement is beneficial. Whichever way you need to do it, you got to get some movement in your life. And so these are just some examples. You can do exercise, you may hum, rock, but movement. That's another way to help through those moments when they seem too intense and too much to bear at that time. And then the third one I want to do, tap into your power source. So now we get to challenge and work with some of those beliefs that we may have and that we may need to find. Who do you trust? What do you believe that's bigger than you? And whatever you say you believe, whoever you say you trust in, are you doing it now? Are you really leveraging the power, the strength you can get from that belief system? Okay? Because now's the time. If you hadn't tried it before, now it is. And you weigh for yourself, what do I believe? Where does my strength or power come from? And am I using that? Am I utilizing those resources for my beliefs? And then the last one is seek healthy support. Because we were not born on an island by ourselves. We couldn't be. It's physically impossible. There are times we cannot get through life by ourselves either. So seek healthy support. And I will be starting a program in the beginning of September for the first few people that make it up for September will be a part of that. If you are interested in connecting and being a part of a sisterhood, a connection, a community to support you as you do life through whatever segment of life you're in right now, we have that for you for 6 weeks. And feel free to put it in. You can DM me, and we can go forward with how to get in connection and explore that. We can have a strategy session and decide what stage you're in, what supports you could use, and we'll move forward. I thank you for joining today. I appreciate for my people who are here, and I appreciate those who will see this later. Thank you, and I look forward to any further contact as you deem necessary. Have a great rest of your day.